Hello, I'm Holden Smith. I'm one of your global ambassadors. I'm an econ major with a French minor, and I studied in Aix-en-Provence. And today I'm with Savannah, and Savannah's going to introduce herself, and we'll get right into this interview. So, Savannah, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Savannah. I am studying Hispanic Studies, and I've studied abroad in Montevideo, Uruguay, in South America for 2 J-terms, J-term 2019 and J-term 2020.
So I guess one of the questions you get asked a lot when you think of like your program, or like when you tell someone you got to study away, is why did you decide to go where you went? So why did you decide to go to Uruguay?
Yeah, so my first year at PLU, I wanted to study away in Uruguay because I wanted to get started in the Spanish program and start practicing my Spanish skills. And it's a short-term program, it's just a J-term, and it's not long like a semester. So I just wanted to get that kind of study abroad experience in a short amount of time. So that's why I chose to go there the first time.
Okay. Do you think so you said you're a Hispanic Studies major, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Studies. So do you think your Spanish improved dramatically? Because I know the J-term program is a language intensive course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I definitely learned a lot when I studied abroad in Uruguay. Something I definitely learned about Spanish is that in each country, they have their own kind of unique form of Spanish, kind of like how you go in the United States and you go to the South and they say pop, and you come to the North and they say soda. I definitely learned a lot about the little interesting linguistic things about Uruguayan Spanish versus like Mexican Spanish versus Spain Spanish. So I definitely learned a lot. I was able to put my Spanish to good use with like host families, and also just living in like a really bustling city every day.
The Uruguay program has host family?
Yes, so the Uruguay program, you get to stay with a host family that goes through the university, and I got to stay with my host family both times I went to Uruguay, and she was really great. Some of the host families only speak Spanish and like very little English, and so it was a really great way to really like practice my Spanish day in and day out, and also get to learn more about their culture, and they get to learn about mine.
That's really sweet. So kind of going back on what you said a couple seconds ago about the language dialects, did you get to go to any other parts of Mexico while you were in Uruguay? Or I'm an idiot. I completely apologize. I know Uruguay is not in Mexico. Did you get to do any other like study tours while you were in Uruguay and get to see other countries in different Spanish dialects too?
Yeah, we got to go to a couple different parts of the country. We got to go to Colonia, which is also kind of connected to Ciudad Vieja, which is more closer to Argentina. And then the opposite end, we got to go closer to Brazil when we went to Rocha. And we stayed in like a hostel there and got to just experience different parts of the country.
So what was the point of those kind of excursions? Because I know in a couple other programs you're seeing cultural ruins, or you're seeing I can't think of another J-term program, but for example the Oaxaca one, that you got to go and explore ruins of the natives of Oaxaca. So for those study excursions, what was the point? Just kind of seeing the country and seeing more different cultures and different dialects?
Yeah, so during the program, you stay in the city, like the like bustling city, kind of like Seattle is for Washington. You stay in Montevideo, and they really wanted to show more of like really the 95% of Uruguay is countryside. And so we got to go to one end and the other end and really see the difference in like home structures, and like a lot of the agricultural is farming, and Uruguay mainly exports cow or vacas in Spanish, and so they do a lot of that, and that was just a really good learning experience to see really what the country was about, even though we were getting a very narrow part because we were living in a city all J-term.
Was that challenging, being in a place where it was only Spanish speaking?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, like the first couple days, I definitely felt like almost like alone, because I was living alone like with my host family, and then I didn't get to see my family or friends as much. My first time going to Uruguay, I didn't know anybody on the trip, so it was very like jarring, right? But part of the study away experience is to like really put yourself out there and to like grow in a very like challenging way. And once you kind of get past that a couple days, you grow in connections with the other people who are studying away with you, and you get more connected to your host family. It just sometimes takes a little bit.
Okay, that goes perfectly into my next question, was how do you think studying away has do you think studying away has changed how you see yourself or even the world a little bit in the time that you've done it? So, okay, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I definitely feel more confident in my Spanish speaking skills. I know just like forcing myself to be in an environment where I like can make mistakes, that's one of the hardest things as like language students, is that we don't want to come across like saying something wrong, or we don't want to be confusing, and we just want to get it right the first time. But even in English, we like say stuff wrong all the time, and it's completely understandable. And so part of learning is you have to make mistakes. And I think once I was able to get past that and really accept that, then I was able to put myself in more situations. Like nowadays when I'm in the United States and I see someone, I like ask if they speak Spanish, and then I just try to use that a little bit with them.
Okay.
So I definitely have gotten out of my comfort zone quite a bit, and that's helped me become more confident.
So I'm assuming you took Spanish before you went to Uruguay. How many years?
I took Spanish for 3 years in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had some Spanish understanding. So was it difficult going into Uruguay? And like you said, the different type of Spanish and different dialects. So like I struggle with even understanding certain dialects in the United States. So I could only imagine that a second language going into a different place, it was very difficult. Is that true?
Yeah, a lot of my classes in high school didn't actually focus on speaking Spanish. It was more just like vocabulary and grammar. So then when I went to Uruguay, I was like, okay, I am again getting adjusted to there's like different like dialects and how they pronounce words and things. But then also just getting past that initial like, oh, I actually have to like respond and speak to people in their language. So yeah, it was definitely a little challenging.
J terms are a little more difficult with studying away because it's not as long, you don't get to immerse yourself into the culture as much as I think many would want to. Do you think you had ample time to be able to see what you wanted to see, or you even went twice, so did you get to see more the second time?
Yeah, so definitely the first time I really loved my experience, and I definitely felt more towards the end of the program that I could have stayed a little longer and just got that more experience. So then when I found out that I could actually go again and get a different Hispanic Studies credit, I was like, yes, I want to go. I knew some more people going on the trip, and I just definitely wanted to go back. So I got to go with my host family again, and I got to do a couple different things because it was my second time. Instead of going with the whole group on like a city tour, I instead went for a weekend to Punta del Este with my host family. She had some family that lived out there, and so Punta del Este is like a huge vacation spot in Uruguay. So I got to go hang out with her and her extended family and see a different part of the city, more like tourist area. So
okay, that's really interesting. So you actually got to have the same host family twice. So did you stay in contact with them when you left the first time?
Yeah, it wasn't like super like connected. Every now and then I would reach out to her because life gets busy. But
yeah, I feel the same way about my host family. I try to send them an email maybe every couple months and be like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Are you still alive? The pandemic's happening. So this might be more of a personal question, but why didn't you decide to do a semester-long program instead of just 2 J terms? Is it just scheduling?
Yeah, I really wanted to do a semester-long program either in Spain or Oaxaca, and I was considering doing that actually like this fall, but of course the pandemic kind of hit. It really took a lot of my options away, and I used to be an elementary education student, so study abroad wasn't really an option for me. But then when I changed my major, I was like, okay, I can do this now, and then kind of the pandemic hit and that sort of thing. So,
did Uruguay play a decision in changing your major?
Yes, I think it definitely did, because I found one of the reasons why I changed my major is I really want to get like a master's in education versus a bachelor's, and you can't get both at PLU because they're both certification programs. But I chose also to do Hispanic Studies because I really like working with like students one-on-one, and I would really like to help students in like an English second language program or English language learners, or even just teach Spanish in high school. I had a really good teacher for Spanish in high school.
Okay. So another very, very important thing when it comes to study away is trying to enhance your global education and kind of understand different cultures around the world that aren't yours. Do you think you have a better, or even let's say better, a better understanding of Spanish culture in Uruguay because you went twice, or do you think you have a better understanding of Spanish culture in the United States because of it?
I think I definitely have both. I know one thing that I'm learning in my psychology class this year is that there's like Westernized cultures are more independent, and then other cultures are interdependent, which means that people focus more on their relationships with people versus like their independent like goals. And so in like Uruguay, they value more family time, like interpersonal relationships extremely so, to the point where when you're at your house, you don't normally spend time like alone in your room. You're outside having coffee, like chatting to like midnight at night, versus when we like kind of like to relax and kind of go to bed on our own schedule. They're more focusing on relationships. And even I see that a lot in some families that I work with. I work at a middle school, and some of the students who come from Hispanic families, they really focus on this idea of relationships and like bonding with people, which is something I don't always see in like students. And so it's helped me to understand like other cultures that are more focused on different values than like Western cultures like the United States. But yeah.
Okay, and I feel like that's very, very tremendously important when it comes to studying away, is that like understanding another culture and then relating it back to yourself. Do you miss that? Because I definitely understand the United States is the very independent, or Westernized culture is very independent in itself, and you think of goals, whereas other cultures are very connected, like you were saying. So I'm assuming your time there was probably very in the connected circle. Do you miss that at all? Just coming back and not having the very strong connection with everybody around you, I would assume.
Yeah, I definitely miss it a lot, because when I came back my second time from J-term, it was like February when we started hearing about the coronavirus and that sort of thing, and going a very long time without being in contact with people or like connection was definitely very difficult, going from a country that was like all about that connection and relationship, and then being kind of forced to be separated from people. So.
Okay, yeah, that I can very much see that that's a very different change that you probably would not be very fun, or that just does not sound enjoyable.
Yeah.
Perfect. So to kind of just wrap this up, is I like to end with like a fun story or just something entertaining that you would like to tell people that happened in your time away, because I have a fun story about pasta or tacos that I'll hopefully tell at another time. But for you, do you have any fun stories that happened to you in Uruguay that you'd like to tell people about? Something
Yeah.
to help relate?
There's definitely one moment that I treasure a lot with my host mom. Her name was Rosanna. And the second time getting to be with her, I just was able to connect with her so much more and really like learn more about her. I got to meet her like boyfriend at the time, Marcelo. He was like so nice. I didn't get to see him all that much, but he's definitely like really sweet, always like taking care of her. There's one moment that was at night. We had like finished dinner, and she was telling me like she was a part of a choir, and she was showing me like some of the music she was singing. And I found out like one of the songs she was singing was Bohemian Rhapsody. And it was so funny because I had been in choir like all throughout middle school and high school for 6 years, and I had sung that song like at one point during my career. So I was like, oh, I know like some of the harmonies, like, and she's like, do you want to sing together? And so we recorded a video of us like on her phone, and we sang like the whole song together, and it was so funny because it was in English as well. So it was very funny. She sent it to like all her friends, and I have the video still. And it's definitely a very sweet moment because we got to like bond over that, and then also just do something together.
You need to have a sweet moment with someone here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really sweet to leave off on. Okay, perfect. Thank you for doing this, Savannah. I hope that we explained this study away program a little bit better for students that are interested in Uruguay J-term. So
yeah, thank you so much, Holden. Thank you.
Savannah.